Today we're talking all about my iPad and how I use Procreate as a traditional artist. I don't really consider myself a digital artist, but I do use digital tools to create artworks for stickers and print products and for clients and poster design. I try to maintain that traditional feel in my digital artwork, and I want to talk to you guys about how I achieve that, my favorite brushes, my favorite techniques, and some tips and tricks I've learned throughout the years of kind of just being self-taught with this app. I've learned a lot from just playing around, but I've also learned some really cool stuff from today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. I've really been wanting to dip my toes into animation, and Procreate has a sister app called Dreams, but I've honestly been too intimidated to try to learn it by myself. Luckily, Skillshare has this learning path called Procreate for Professionals Master Animation. These learning paths are curated collections of classes specifically designed to help you master a technique. The classes are meant to be taken sequentially, and I like that they ease you in with a logo animation, and then you work your way up to more complex storytelling. All of Skillshare's classes are created by industry professionals in so many different fields, from illustration, design, music, freelance, productivity, and more. Whether you want to learn something brand new or deepen your existing know-how, Skillshare is the place. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks Skillshare for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to it. Procreate is an awesome app. It's like $10 in the App Store, a one-time payment. I refuse to pay for the Adobe Suite at this time. So I use Procreate like Photoshop, I use it like Illustrator. I use it to touch up traditional paintings when I'm sending them to print. I use it to create my Instagram posts. Like if I do a scan of a sketchbook, I will cut it out in Procreate. I use it to make full illustrations like this. I use it to stitch photos together and make digital collage. So this became a painting, and I use this as my reference photo. I use it to make my thumbnails for YouTube. I use it for ideating for projects, creating like little mood boards and mock-ups to send to clients, made my business cards in here. So let's just open a blank document. I do have a screen protector on here, and I've made a couple of little mistakes. There's little pieces of dust here and there, so we're just gonna have to ignore that. But I really like this screen protector. It's from Paper-like, and it kind of imitates the texture of paper, which I really like. Let's talk about brushes. Brushes are the coolest part about Procreate, in my opinion, and I'm gonna show you my favorites. I have them all sorted into this little my favorites. If you're trying to get comfortable in Procreate or with any digital medium, I really suggest just like going through all the brushes and just kind of playing with what you can create. Let's do a little swatch sheet here of my favorites. This little pixel painter is what I use to create all of my text in my videos. I just like that it's square. It's basically a brush that's just one square pixel. I think I downloaded this from Jamie Green's Patreon, but you could make this really easily. If you go into the brush studio, you can edit the shape. The shape source is just this square one, which is the same concept, but it's just a circle. So those are nice when you just need like a mono line for something. 6B pencil, this is a Procreate brush. I really like this one. It does feel like a 6B pencil. There's like the pressure sensitivity with the pencil, so if you do a really light line, it's really light, and if you press really hard, it's really dark. And then the studio pen, this is kind of like a brush pen. I like this for filling in shapes because it is very smooth on the edges. This is the gouache flow brush from Max U. I don't know how to say his last name, Max U. Let's do green. You can see that it really does look like a watercolor brush. The pastel cloudy blend, also from the Max Packs. This natural detail glaze, let's make it bigger. That's pretty fun. This gouache flow rough detail brush, let's find a good color. This one has more of like a jagged edge, but still has that like watercolor texture. This one, which is like a flick brush. This is a Rizo brush. I'll link all of the things that I purchased down in the description, but this is like a imitation Rizo brush. So that's pretty fun for doing like textures and stuff. This is a texture shader from that same pack. So it's just a little bit more of like an airbrushy vibe. This is a Procreate brush, this medium nozzle spray, and I'll show you how I use these spray brushes in a second. And this is another Max Pack gouache brush. This is like the flat gouache brush, and see how it picks up what's underneath since this is all in the same layer. So that's pretty fun to play around with. Something that I like to do is edit my sketchbook scans. So I just use a very basic flatbed scanner to scan my sketchbook, and then I will airdrop the photos into my iPad and then open this up on Procreate. Something really nice that I have I've sort of recently discovered is the automatic selection tool. So this is our little selection guy here. And I often have it on freehand while I'm drawing. So you can select little elements like this and then move them around, or you can use the automatic selection tool. So you switch it to automatic and then you hit what you would like to select. And if things aren't selecting correctly, you can slide and it will kind of adjust the threshold. You can select stuff that didn't get selected. My favorite way to use this is just to copy and paste, and then it copies onto a new layer. So it kind of removes the cream color of the sketchbook, and you can see that it didn't quite select it correctly, but this kind of prevents me from having to redraw every single element, especially if I'm just gonna recolor something digitally. Something that happens with my scanner sometimes is that the automatic setting kind of cuts off one half of the page. So if I want to share my sketchbook, I have to stitch it back together. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So here's one side of it, and then I'm going to insert the other half, and then I'm going to use the selection tool to crop out the scanner bed. Ooh, we want to go back to freehand. For straight lines, you can just go like this. And then copy and paste. That page is on its own layer now, and I just do the same thing on the other side. You can just pinch to merge the layers together. Now they are attached. And then for a lot of my Instagram posts, I will add a photo that I have taken recently, something that kind of goes with the vibe, and then I'll just put that in the background. And it makes things a little bit more engaging than just like a straight up scan. And then I can also adjust things so that they are in a square format, which is just easier to share on Instagram. Another thing that I use Procreate for is touching up these artworks. So even if it's just a sketchbook page, sometimes I will do a little bit of touching up of things. Like there's this little paint spill here right in the gutter. Usually pick a textured brush like the 6B pencil and zoom in super close. Procreate has this handy tool where if you hold down, you are able to choose colors, or you can do it over here on the little color selection tool will pop up, and then I will just like scrub it out. And then I always make sure to do this on another layer in case I want to erase it. So I'll just tap with whatever brush makes the most sense. If I'm touching up a watercolor piece, maybe I'll use one of those gouache brushes, and then we'll just like add this gutter line back in with a pixel brush. And if you were to zoom in on this, you might notice that it's like not exactly perfect. For my purposes of just posting it on Instagram, no one's gonna notice, and then I'm gonna just like, since this is my sketchbook, things get pretty messy, so sometimes there's just like little marks and things. I usually won't get rid of these if I'm just posting my sketchbook on the internet, but if I'm turning it into a print or something, I really don't want these little smudges to be printed. I'll just do the same thing here and scrub over them. So let's say that I want to make this butterfly into a sticker. I'm gonna start a new layer, and then I'm going to turn down the opacity of this layer so that I can see what I'm doing a little bit easier. When it comes to tracing a sketch, I try not to be super precise and try to kind of keep the same irregularities of the drawing that I made. I don't want things to look too perfect. I hardly ever use that tool where you can like, if you draw a line and hold it, it will turn straight. Or if you draw an oval like this, you can turn it into a ellipse. I just feel like it makes things look very digital, but if that's the vibe that you're going for, then that's a really helpful tool. I'm probably gonna redraw over this line work, so I'm not really worried about making it perfect. I'm just kind of trying to create a map for myself so I can remember where everything is. I try to do this with all of my tools. If you hold your pencil like way down here like this, your drawings are gonna just look really tight. So even with the Apple Pencil, I try to hold it back here a little bit because I just like things to be a little bit looser and kind of show that a human made it. I think I want the wings of my butterfly to be symmetrical. So in Canvas, you can turn on this grid, which is the drawing guide, and then you can adjust the drawing guide to be as big as you want it to be. I do this a lot when I'm drawing text. And then in the drawing guide, you can do this symmetry option where everything that you draw on one side shows up on the other. I'm gonna erase all of this and then redraw it with the Page Assist on. Okay, we're gonna go to drawing guide, symmetry, and then I'm just gonna draw over this and it will show up on the other side, which is kind of handy. Okay, I know this looks kind of messy. We're gonna go in and just use this as a guide. We're gonna go in with a solid color with one of these pixel brushes and just make the shape of the butterfly. So then we go in alpha lock it. Once it's alpha locked, we can brush in all the different various colors that I want to have. Kind of just gives us this like paper cut vibe. I try to use a warm color and a cool color. And then I'll add another layer. And I really like this gouache flow brush for line work. I try not to zoom in way too far. Okay, now that we have that line work, I'm gonna turn off the original line work and then do the same thing for this line work layer where we alpha lock it, and then we're gonna just spritz it with some fun colors just to add a little bit more depth and interest. If you do red around the edges, it just adds like this really nice warmth, and some blue. And if I were making this like a final design, I might go in on top, either the 6B pencil or the gouache brush, and just add some little pops of bright white. Something else I've been really enjoying is these paper texture packs. I downloaded one from True Grit Texture Supply, so that's what all of these are. You can use them as like an overlay or just as a background. So let's maybe grab, I like this one, it's called Moldy Gold. I'm gonna go to add, and then I'm just gonna copy this entire canvas, go back to my artwork, just paste it in. Yeah, that's pretty cute. So now it's like a little background. What you also can do is put it above the artwork. So if we set it to multiply, it impacts the layers that are underneath it. Something that I do is just play with each of these options, and sometimes you can find fun little unexpected things in here. But I use multiply a lot, and then you can adjust the opacity like that. Makes everything just like a little more crunchy. Something else that I like to play with is the gradient maps. Press this little magic wand tool, we can go to gradient map, and it gives you all of these little options. It translates the values into different color maps, basically. So sometimes I'll play with that if I'm stuck on colors. I kind of like how that looks, actually. I duplicate a layer, hide one, and just like play with the layer. And then you don't have to worry about destroying your work. It's called working non-destructively. You can also go in here and mess with the hue and saturation and brightness. So if you're kind of stuck on colors, you can kind of slide through all of the different color options. And maybe I want my painting to be just a little bit more warm and saturated. And let's say that I want to make this into a sticker. I think I'm gonna go in and clean up this edge so that it lines up with the line work a little bit better. And then once I have what I think is my final design, I might go in here and just quickly merge all of this together. But if I am unsure, I will duplicate all the layers in case I want to still move things around, but I'm just gonna go like this. Merge everything all into one artwork. Let's turn off the background so you can see better. We are gonna duplicate this, fill the layer with white. This is gonna go underneath. And then we're gonna go to Gaussian Blur, which is right here. I like 12%. Then we go to selections and we choose automatic select, and then we're gonna do color fill and just tap that. So it creates the same shape as an outline so that we can send it as a transparent PNG. If we share this as a PNG, then my sticker manufacturer knows where to cut, and if I wanna make a sticker sheet, I can just merge these two things together and place them on a separate document. All right, I think that's the end of the video. I am still very much a beginner, I feel like, when it comes to digital art, but I'm learning new things all the time, so my process will probably be continually evolving as it is in all different mediums. Let me know if you'd like a full painting process video. I thought about doing that with like a voiceover in the background of me doing a piece from start to finish, but I felt like this would be a little bit more approachable to true beginners. And I wanted to cover some of those things like touching up artwork and just how I arrange my sketchbook and stuff, because I've been saying I've been gonna share those things for a long time. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. If you have any comments or ideas for future Procreate related created videos, let me know down in the comments. My name's Kristen Bardnega. I go by Little Tiny Egg everywhere on the internet. I don't really make very many tutorial style videos, so I'd be interested to hear if you guys like this video, if you would like more content like this from me. Thanks so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring the video. I will talk to you guys later. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time.